Blog Talk Radio.
It's time for another great episode of the Stop Doing Nothing Show, the show for high achievers. Now, here's your host, Patrick Allman.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Blog Talk Radio show for Stop Doing Nothing, the show for high achievers. I am Patrick Allman, broadcasting to you live from Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. It's a overcast day here, a little bit chilly, but not too terribly bad. I hope the weather is good where you are today. Time is 4 o'clock Central. We'll be talking here for the next half hour. If you want to call in and participate, you can call in at 424-222-5282. And also, if you are listening live someplace else besides Blog Talk Radio, and you go to blogtalkradio.com/stopdoingnothing, we have a live chat room, and I'm in there right now watching people join and paying attention to the Q&A and just having a good old time. Today, our show is going to be about entrepreneurship and specifically discussing some of the things that you need to review if you're considering being an entrepreneur. The actual title of the show is Show 9. Do you have what it takes to be an entrepreneur? For those of you that learned last week, you knew what the show topic was, so you probably had some time to think about it. But what I did is I took my experience, my knowledge, and I went through a checklist of 10 things that I believe everyone needs to consider before they decide to become an entrepreneur, or that can also be called going into business for yourself. Not everyone follows these checklists, but if they did, my guess is they would be a lot more prepared for the shock that comes to them the Monday after the Friday they quit their job and decide to start their own business. So grab a piece of paper and a pencil and get ready to take some notes. And again, I would encourage you to join us live up on the phone number I gave previously, or in the chat room. It's blogtalkradio.com/stopdoingnothing. Okay, again, I kind of separate these into 10 different points. You may agree or disagree, but here we go. The first one is probably the most important one, and I call the difference between wanting to be an entrepreneur and really wanting to be an entrepreneur. I've been in business over 14 years, and it's not uncommon after a speaking engagement or a consulting engagement or anything like that for someone to come up to me and they have a regular, 9 to 5, 40-hour-a-week job, and they're very excited by the concept of being in business, by being your own boss, by doing your own invoices, by getting big, giant checks, and by traveling the world. And there is plenty of excitement to it, no doubt, and I wouldn't trade it for the world, but sometimes I talk to these people, and I've learned that, they've thought about doing this for a while, and they have an idea, but right now it's just not the right time, or they have to postpone it till next year, or they don't have the $60,000 it needs to start up their business. There's just a variety of reasons, and when I hear that, immediately in my head I think that person has not really decided or made the commitment to start their business. They like the idea of entrepreneurship. It sounds exciting, but they're just not ready to make that leap and take that risk and even engage that fear that's going to hit you when you decide to become an entrepreneur. It sounds good to them, but they don't really want it. The difference is between that and someone that really wants it is somebody who is very headstrong, who has a good idea of what they want, knows that there are going to be some vagaries when it comes to starting your own business, but is not really afraid of the fear. They know the fear. They embrace it. They look for ways around the obstacles. They have an actual deadline as to when they're going to start their business. They have a plan in their head. They know what's going to happen. They know that, 96 hours from now, I'm going to be doing this. This is what I'm doing on my business plan. And my business plan is going to be done next Wednesday, so I can talk to my accountant on Thursday, so I can file my incorporation paperwork on Friday, so I can get my tax ID on Monday. They have a defined, quantifiable list of steps that they are working on in order to reach the D-Day, the day that they actually go into business for themselves. So if that first one kind of sounds like you, if you've thought about it for years, but your product's not quite done, or you haven't sat down and worked on your marketing materials, or your spouse isn't really sure he or she wants you to do it, or you just always come up with a list of reasons, and those list of reasons have kind of held you back for more than even some weeks or months, you might really want to consider whether or not this entrepreneurship thing is for you. Like I said, there are plenty of unknowns here. It's a very scary business to be in. But to be an entrepreneur, you have to want it badly. You can't just want it a little. You have to want it badly, and you have to be willing to get up early, stay late at your desk, work weekends, work holidays in order to grow your business. And if you're not ready to make that commitment yet through some of these steps we're going to talk about, then you know what? It's not a big deal. Make that choice now and save the money. So these other steps, these other 8-9 steps, if you will, are going to be kind of supporting that once you've made that decision that you do want to go into business for yourself. So we've covered number 1, whether or not you really want to do it or you just kind of want to do it. Number 2, have you decided what you're going to sell as an entrepreneur? So think about that for a couple of seconds. You know how to set up a business, you know how to incorporate, you know how to get a tax ID, you know how to talk to an accountant, but what are you really selling? If I gave you a piece of paper right now and a pencil, I said, write down the 3 things that you sell, or write down your 2 products, or whatever it is. Could you do that, or is it just kind of stuff you've been mulling over in your head? If you haven't taken the time yet to figure out what you're selling, then I would consider holding off on the entrepreneurship and maybe sit down with a word processor and defining what you sell, approximately what it's going to cost someone to buy your product or service, how you're going to deliver that product or service, and what you're going to charge for that product or service and what you're going to make. And also maybe how much of that you have to sell to eat every day, every week, or every month. So if it's consulting, let's say it's IT consulting. Let's say you're the kind of person that's going to be the hard drive king, and you're going to replace hard drives. Well, what kind of hard drive are you going to sell? How much are they going to cost you? Where are you going to get them from? What are you going to do if that primary supplier, wonks out on you and you don't have any more hard drives? What's the value in buying the hard drives from you versus someone else? That's a very important question to answer, especially when you're selling a commodity item. I have a commodity business and I have a personality business. And in my commodity business, I'm selling something that you can buy 1,000 other places, if not 10,000 other places. Why would you get it from Patrick, especially when it's going to be more expensive than most everybody else's business? So what are you selling, and why should someone buy it from you? That's number 2. Number 3 is you have to figure out how you want your business to look in a year. And, only work on a year at a time. As a matter of fact, when you're starting up, you should probably only look at maybe a smaller period of time. How do you want your business to look in a month? How do you want your business to look in 6 months? But as opposed to just kind of putting some pie-in-the-sky things out there, I want you to write these things down. All these points I'm talking about today have to do with you writing things down. Ideas in your head are okay, but get them on paper. It don't mean nothing till you sign on the dotted line. So figure out how you want your business to look. What kind of income level do you want to be at? That's going to depend largely on how much savings you have. What kind of staff do you want to have? Do you want to have a salesperson in 6 months? Do you want to have an office person in 6 months? What kind of vacation do you want to be taking? And that's a little bit of a joke, but trust me, it's one of the things you have to consider. But write down your vision of how you want your business to look in a certain period of time. 1 month, 6 months, whatever it is. Don't worry. Sometimes you hear people that do strategic planning worrying about big, giant things. Like earlier I mentioned the 5 years. Forget that idea. Okay, you need to get past the next 30 days. You don't have to worry about a 5-year plan. But you know what? Take a smaller chunk. Take 6 months. What do you want your business to look like in 6 months? If you can make it to 6 months in business, then you can make it a year. You can make it past 2 years. You are doing better than most small businesses that start up and crash and burn. When you have been in business for a year, maybe 18 months, then you can start worrying about the 5-year plan. If you have consistent growth over the next 6 months, then you know what? You have a business. You have a viable business idea. You can probably sustain it and grow it out to the next 5 years. So sit down with a piece of paper, even some spreadsheets, and figure out how you want this to look, this vision of your business, in the next 5 to 6 years. The next one, use spreadsheets for planning and forecasting what-if scenarios. In one of my earlier podcasts, I believe it was number 2 or 3, I talked about the power of spreadsheets, especially when it came to financial planning. I believe it was episode number 3, to tell you the truth. And I would encourage you to, if you don't have a spreadsheet program, go to some place like Gmail, create an account, and start using the Google Docs spreadsheet planning. Spreadsheets are great for playing what-if scenarios, and also for figuring out, incomes versus expenses versus taxes, and if you play with the numbers, what do your end numbers need to be like? I have a couple of different spreadsheets where I can fill in, these are how many hours I want to work a week. These are how many weeks I want to work a year. And if I want to make, $500,000 a year on a particular venture, working backwards on all that stuff, what do I have to make per hour? What do I have to charge per hour? And that has to do with just figuring out your business in general. What do you want to charge per hour if you're doing consulting? Well, you know what? That's a very easy number to figure out. If you want to make $500,000 a year and you want to work 48 years, that's worth a month of vacation, if you want to work 48 weeks out of the year, and if every week you only want to work 30 hours, you can set up a spreadsheet to where you can punch in those numbers, and then at the other end, it'll tell you how much you have to make per week, and in turn, how much you have to make per hour. That's a very easy way to calculate how much you want to make per hour. And don't short sell yourself. Don't say, if you're making $50,000 a year right now at a regular corporate job, don't say, I'd be happy with $75,000. No, go big. If you're making $50,000 a year, put in $200,000. What is it going to make for you? What is it going to take for you to make $200,000 a year? Because these are how you set your prices, and this is how you determine your value. And it has to do with, the actual product you're selling also, but play with the numbers, and spreadsheets are good for that, because spreadsheets you can set up all different kinds of variables and change the variables. Add something here, take something away here. How's it look here? What if my office expenses, what are my office expenses going to be? Are they going to be 15% of my income, or are they going to be 25% of my income? What spreadsheets are also good for, since you can play with so many variables, are calculating best case scenarios and worst case scenarios. For example, if you're selling a widget and your widget is $55 and you have to sell 10 of them in order to make what you want to make per month to feed your family, what does it look like if you were to sell 20 of them? What does it look like if you were to sell 5 of them? What does it look like if you were to sell 200 of them? Because your expenses go up, and so you can say, your expenses are, maybe if your expenses are 20%, your expenses are 20% of your income. So every single time your income goes up, your expenses go up. Maybe your expenses are fixed. Spreadsheets are great for that. Spreadsheets are great for putting in numbers and putting in other calculations based on those numbers. So if you haven't learned how to operate a spreadsheet, it's one of the best business planning tools in the world. I don't care about all the websites that claim to help you do business planning software. You still can't beat a spreadsheet. I have a feeling that most company executives would agree with me. Okay, so that's number 4. You can learn how to use spreadsheets for planning and forecasting. Number 5, learn about marketing. This one is also one of the more important ones on the list. If you're selling a widget, could be the best widget in the world, how are you going to be sure that your neighbor finds out that you're selling this widget? Or the guy across the street, or the mechanic down the street who needs your widget? Let's assume that your widget is unique, one of a kind, and it's one of those things that once you get it in front of someone and once you talk to them about 5 minutes, you have a very high close rate, let's say 95% close rate. How do you get that message out? Marketing does not happen sitting in an office hoping people go to your website and click on something and buy something. Marketing happens email by email, phone call by phone call, website by website visit. Marketing happens when you go and you somehow find a list of the businesses that could benefit from what you have, and you contact them and say, look, I have this. This would make your life easier. Would you be interested in seeing a demonstration of it? And by the way, when it comes to marketing, learn about how to do research and subdivide your niches and how to build a target market. There is no product in the world where everyone is the target market. You may sell, I don't know what you sell. Let's say you sell shoes or shirts or a special wrench. Figure out exactly who you have to target. You don't want to target 1 million people. Is your product regional? Is your product worldwide? Is your product national? Figure out how to set up marketing, how to do direct mail, how to get stuff in the hands of people. Part of marketing may be sitting around, printing out 20 letters, signing them, putting in a brochure of your product, putting them in the envelope, putting a stamp in the upper right-hand corner, and driving to the mailbox and mailing them. You may have to do that every single day for an hour. That is what marketing is. It's getting your message out there. I'm a huge technology fan. I'm all about social media and websites and obviously podcasts. But you know what? I have learned that the people that buy my product, a lot of them aren't on the internet. I have to get them on the internet to even see my stuff. So one of the things that's helped for me is to have someone actually calling around to people after I've filtered out my target market. If I have a widget and I want to get it to optometrists, I'm going to have somebody get on the list to all the optometrists in a particular city, let's say Oklahoma City, and call them and saying, this will make your life better. This will make your patient's life better. Can I come in and talk to you for a few minutes? And you know what? You're going to get a lot of no's. But the more no's you get, the closer you're getting to a yes. If 1 out of 100 people says yes, you have to get those 99 no's. If you do your target marketing and you figure out exactly who you want to be calling, I guarantee you'll get more than 1 out of 100. That's just good prep work. So learn about marketing. The next one kind of ties into marketing. It's learn about selling and how to present your product. Can you tell me in 30 seconds, commonly called an elevator speech, why I should buy your product or service and how it's going to help me? If you can't get that out fast, then that's something you need to work on, your elevator pitch. I sell widgets. I sell this one widget right here that optometrists use. It prevents eye pain. It increases recovery time. It's cheaper than what you're using right now, and patients love it. It generates return business. Try to put things in terms that your clients will appreciate and understand that they want. And if you have trouble figuring that out, go back to the 2 basics. Every person is in business to do one of 2 things: to bring pleasure to another person or to relieve their pain. 2 very basic human instincts: to gain pleasure or to avoid pain. Try to put your product in the perspective of one of those 2 things. In addition to learning about selling and how to present your product, which is number 6, let's talk about number 7. Learn about cold calling. People hate to cold call. People hate to cold call so much there's a national law against it. It's called the Do Not Call list. You can go see it at donotcall.gov if you're in the U.S. Cold calling has a very bad reputation, but it's also one of the better ways to sell something. Picking up the phone of your target audience and saying, hello, my name is Patrick Allman. I don't want to take up too much of your time. I see you're in an optometrist business. We have this widget which will increase your profits, reduce patient recovery time, and bring your patients back for a second or third trip because you will be known as the pain-free dentist. Is this of interest to you? You're going to get typically 1 of 3 responses, 1 of 3 or 4 responses. No, goodbye, click, hang up. 2, well, that does sound interesting, but I'm not really the decision maker. 3 might be, you know what, that sounds great. I'd like some more information. Can you email me or call me tomorrow so we can get it set up and work on it? And the 4th one, if you're really nice, is, oh, that is awesome. Here's my checkbook. Where do I send the check? Cold calling may not be fun, but it grows amazing businesses. And I see this week after week. I see proof of this. So that's number 7. Number 8, are you doing one-time consulting or recurring monthly consulting? Figure out if you're selling a product or if you're selling a service, and can you turn that product or service into something that can be renewed on a regular basis? It's really hard to be in a business where you sell something one time and you have no way to get hold of that customer and you have nothing else to sell them. I'm going to give you an example. Some website businesses are like this. That's the area that I work in. Some website companies sell a great web design package. $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. Get a great website for us for $5,000. We'll get it in WordPress. We'll get it all set up for you and everything. Then the engagement is over. You'll receive your final payment. And then that client walks away. And then what do? You're back in a famine mode. You hear about small business being all about feast or famine. Well, every single time a client ends or a contract ends, you're back in the famine mode. Unless you've been following number 5 above and doing your marketing. But that doesn't always happen. Businesses start with one client. So your very first client, let's say in the web design world, you get your very first client, you got a $5,000 website, you're a one-person business, you had your head buried down and you got that one website done, you got your $5,000. Now it's time to lift your head back up and figure out, where do I get my next $5,000? So if trying to figure out, are you selling a one-time product or are you selling something that people can pay for over and over and over, be it every day, every week, or every month? And if you're not selling some kind of product which requires some kind of retainer or some kind of automatic billing, see if there's a way you can do that. Can you put people on monthly consulting retainers where you get their credit card number and you just bill them every single month for working with you? Maybe you automatically mail them a renewal package of some sort, or maybe they get an hour or two on the phone with you every month because they're automatically being billed at your discounted rate. If you give it a chance, go on the internet and look for a company called DollarShaveClub.com. Great website, great introductory video. They get your credit card number, you pay them $10, $20 a month, however much it is, and they will automatically mail you razor blades. That's an amazing business because you know what? Razor blades are a buy once and don't buy it again for 2 to 3 months kind of business. No, they come up with a way to basically charge you every single month for a razor blade or for 3 razor blades. So when you go to DollarShave.club.com and you order their stuff, they're going to bill you every single month, and you're going to get clean, brand new, sharp razor blades to your mailbox every single month. Brilliant. See how you can do that with your product or your service. The next one, number 9, and we're getting close to the end here, is do you need office space? If you're a manufacturer, the answer is going to be an unequivocal yes. But if you're making something out of your garage, out of a third bedroom in your house, or you're doing consulting work, mainly phone consulting work, not necessarily too much face-to-face client work, maybe you're working with a team of people and they're working from home also. Do you want to incur the additional expense and overhead of having an office space? In this day and age, especially for the people that do knowledge management or wisdom management businesses, the answer is almost always no. I've worked both ways over the years. And one of the things you have to realize is once you get an office space, your expenses are going to increase, and where does that get passed on to you? That gets passed on to your client. So if you charge $100 an hour for something, and you all of a sudden you get an office space that has multiple offices, you got to pack up, you got to fill it out with office furniture, you have to pay for your internet every month, for your water, for your heat, for your electricity. And let's say your office space is $500 a month, and you add on all of your expenses and you're up to $1,000 a month. Well, that $500 has to come from someplace. That $1,000 has to come from someplace. And where's it going to come from? That's going to come from, number one, either by you decreasing your expenses elsewhere or by increasing your income. So you're going to have to start charging clients more or charge more for your product to make up for that $1,000 a month. Hopefully, maybe make up for it by another $500. So you're bringing in $1,500 to pay for your office space of $1,000. So really consider deeply whether or not you need office space. A lot of people I know that want to go into business for themselves think that, that's one of their barriers. I just can't do it yet because I got to find the right office space and I got to get it furnished and I got to get it painted. Why? Plenty of great businesses are started from garages and back bedrooms and living rooms and dining room tables. You don't need to have the perfect office space or the perfect setup to start making your product or service. So figure out whether or not you even need office space, and if not, don't even worry about it. You'll get that in 6 months, or you'll get that in a year, or you'll get that never. I know plenty of people that just work out of their house, make millions of dollars a year, and don't even have to worry about office space. That's an additional expense that you don't want. And my last point, and this kind of has to get back to with point number 8, can you take your knowledge, if you're doing a consulting type business, Can you take your knowledge and turn that into a product that can be sold over and over again? You may be called upon to do a consulting engagement or a speaking engagement or work with a small group of people, and you get done, you get paid, you go back to your hotel room because you were just exhausted, and you travel home and you go back out next week and you do that over and over and over. So every place that people want your information, you have to go there to present it. But wouldn't it be great if you had a product, if you had that entire presentation recorded on camera, pressed to a DVD, so if customer B wanted the exact same thing that customer A wanted it, they could get it at a fraction of the cost from your website? Wouldn't it be great to take that knowledge that you have and be able to package it up and sell it 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year? People do it all of the time. If you sell a widget, you could probably make some videos or some podcasts or some MP3s and talk about how great that widget is compared to other widgets, how you designed a widget, how this widget would be used in your company, how this other company can also make their own widget. So not only is the widget itself valuable, the process of building the widget is valuable. This also comes in handy when you want to, what was I going to say? Oh, when you have people that want your knowledge and want your wisdom, but can't afford your normal consulting fee or can't afford to bring you out and speak to their group. If you charge $7,000 to speak to a group of people, and their budgets really can't handle that this year, well, maybe you know what? Maybe you can sell them copies of your $49 DVD, so every participant gets the same information, and they walk away with a DVD, and then you can upsell them to something later. That way, the conference that has a lower budget can afford to get your stuff. Maybe they can play at the conference, or they can give it to people to go home and watch it. You get paid either way. So again, let's cover the 10 points before we shut it down for today. Number one, you have to want it. You have to really want it, not just casually want it. Number two, figure out exactly what you're selling and be sure you can define it easily. Number three, you have to figure out how you want your business to look in maybe 6 months to a year. Number four, get really good at learning about how spreadsheets work and using them to forecast incomes, expenses, overhead, health insurance costs, things like that. Number five, learn about marketing. Learn about the best way to market your product. Number six, learn about selling and how to present your product. Number seven, learn about cold calling because you're going to have to do it at some point in time. Number eight, are you doing one-time consulting or recurring monthly product consulting? And how can you turn your product into recurring monthly consulting? Number nine, do you need office space? Probably not. And number 10, can you turn your knowledge into products? I hope this has been helpful. This has been Patrick Allman with the Stop Doing Nothing High Achievers Radio Show. We're here every Thursday at 4 p.m. Central Time. I would encourage you to share this all over social media if you would. Hop over to the Facebook page at facebook.com/stopdoingnothing and like our page. And also be sure you get on our email list by going to stopdoingnothing.com. This is Patrick, the coach for high achievers. I look forward to talking to you next week here at the Blog Talk Radio show, Stop Doing Nothing, the show for high achievers. Now go out and make it a great weekend.